Have you ever felt like leadership is less about inspiring people and more about just surviving the day-to-day chaos? Well, Stephen Garth's guide, Get Your Shift Together, might just be the reality check we all need. Look, forget all the dry corporate jargon. Garth's approach is raw, it's direct, and it could seriously change how you think about management. All right, let's dive in and see what this whole spiritual leadership thing is really about.
And this really is the heart of the matter, isn't it? The old my way or the highway management style, it just doesn't work anymore. People have options, and trust me, they will walk if a job feels toxic. That high turnover rate you see, it's not just a number on a spreadsheet. It's a blaring alarm bell screaming that the old way is broken.
So how do you actually fix it? Well, Garth lays out a pretty clear path, a manager's journey that we're going to walk through together. We'll kick things off with why the old playbook is failing. Then we'll get into the power of just watching and listening, how to handle the daily chaos, and then the really deep stuff, the inner work. From there, it's all about building a legacy and finally facing the ultimate test, a full-blown crisis.
Remember that alarm bell we just talked about? That's your signal that it's time for a change. You know, it's so easy for managers to blame bad hires or other companies poaching their talent. But Garth is blunt. A lot of the time, the problem is staring right back at you in the mirror. And the fix isn't some new management fad. It's a fundamental shift in how you see your role as a leader.
And that brings us to the core idea, spiritual leadership. Now, hold on, don't get hung up on the word spiritual. This has nothing to do with religion. It's all about creating a workplace that actually means something, a place built on trust, respect, and genuinely wanting to see your people grow. You know, it's about being a good human being.
And here's the crucial part. This is not some new mask you can put on. You can't just decide to be a spiritual leader on Monday morning and expect it to stick. It comes from doing the deep internal work, the tough stuff like meditation and shadow work that actually changes who you are from the inside out.
All right, let's get practical. Imagine you're the new manager, walking in on day one. What's your first instinct? Probably to make a big splash, right? Give a big speech, announce your grand vision? Well, Garth says that is the single worst thing you could do.
And this just says it all, doesn't it? Your fancy title doesn't automatically mean you have their respect. To your team, you're just the next person in a long line of bosses they've had to deal with. They've seen it all before, and they're probably already wondering how long you're going to last.
Now, check out the difference here. The standard approach is all about talking, making your mark, but the spiritual leader's way, it's about listening. You shut your mouth and you just observe. Get a feel for the energy on the floor. Who are the people everyone naturally gravitates towards? Those are your real leaders. You need to gather intelligence before you act. Your first few days are a recon mission, not your coronation.
Okay, you've survived your first week. Great. But now comes the real grind. Managing grown adults who, let's be honest, sometimes act like they're still in high school. This is where so many managers burn out. And it's also where we get a great cautionary tale from the book.
So in the book, there's this manager, Robert, who tries to fix all the drama with open dialogue meetings and good intentions, but he completely misses what's actually going on underneath the surface. So what is it that most managers get so wrong when it comes to conflict?
Well, they usually fall into one of three traps. First, they ignore it, hoping it'll just magically disappear. Spoiler alert, it never does. Second, they overreact, turning a tiny spark into a massive bonfire. Or third, and this is the laziest one, they just pick a side because it's easier. All of these fail miserably because they don't get to the root of the problem.
And there it is. That's the secret. It's almost never about the thing they're fighting about. It's about someone feeling disrespected, invisible, or just plain unheard. And once you truly understand that, your entire way of handling conflict is going to change.
So here's the playbook. Step 1, check yourself. Are you calm or are you about to react emotionally? Step 2, deal with it privately. You pull the people involved aside and you ask one simple question: what's really going on here? And then you just listen. Third, you reset the tone for everyone. And finally, you turn that drama into a learning moment for the whole team. That's how you put out fires for good.
So managing other people's stuff is one thing, but what about your own? This brings us to what is, without a doubt, the most uncomfortable and the most important part of becoming a spiritual leader: dealing with yourself first.
This concept is a total game changer. You know that time you snapped at an employee for a tiny mistake? That probably wasn't just you being a tough boss. That was your shadow taking over.
It's all your unresolved stuff, your insecurities, your fears, your old wounds, and it is secretly driving your behavior every single day. So, what is shadow work? Well, it's basically the process of dragging all those hidden parts of yourself out into the light so you can finally deal with them. Look, it is not fun, but it is absolutely necessary. You can't lead other people with clarity if you're being yanked around by parts of yourself you don't even understand.
And here's a really practical way to get started, the shadow journal. The next time something at work really triggers you, find a quiet moment and just write down everything you're feeling, completely uncensored. Then ask yourself, when have I felt this way before? Trace it back. See how that old event is still affecting you today. And then you get to rewrite the story. That's how you start to take your power back.
Now, once you start doing that deep inner work, something really cool begins to happen. Your focus naturally shifts from yourself to others. It stops being about just hitting your numbers and starts being about the impact you're leaving behind. It's about your legacy.
And what a fascinating mindset shift this is. Think about it. An insecure boss is terrified of being replaced. They hoard information, they hoard power. But a true spiritual leader, their goal is to make themselves obsolete. Their job isn't to create a bunch of followers, it's to build more leaders who are even better than they are.
And that is your real legacy. The projects you manage will be forgotten. The numbers you hit will be replaced by new numbers. But the people you invested in, the leaders you helped create, that impact goes on forever. It's a ripple effect that continues long, long after you've moved on.
So you've done the work, you've built an incredible team, and things are going smoothly. But let's be real. Anyone can lead when the sun is shining. The real test of a leader comes when the storm hits and everything starts to fall apart.
And this is where a spiritual leader truly earns their stripes. They don't get swept up in the panic and fear around them. They stay grounded. They don't try to solve the entire crisis at once. They just focus on the next right step. And most importantly, if the plan fails, they don't run and hide. They stand right there with their people. Because in a crisis, your presence is way more powerful than any plan. And in the end, this is what it all comes down to. It's not about some complex theory. It's about genuine human connection. What Garth is really saying is that leadership is a promise to show up every single day for your people and for yourself. So the question isn't just, can you do the job? The real question is, when you're gone, what will you have left behind?